let's give the guys and girls something to look at.
Brilliant.
So this is my daytime look.
Fab.
How are you,
Daniel,
Lash?
I'm good. All the days are rolling into one, and just keep myself busy, you know. I've got Eva, so she keeps me on my toes, and just trying to stay focused on what's happening around me, but at the same time not losing myself, and trying to stay on top of what my mission is as a makeup artist, and just working on myself and just enjoying my time off. Loving my kit.
You are someone who is constantly doing something. I think you are probably one of the only people who I know who can juggle about 5 or 6 things at one time, plus think about 5 or 6 things to do in the future and makes plans for. You're a phenomenal force.
Oh, thanks, Daniel. I just like I'm busy.
True.
Someone's asking you what you're wearing, Daniel, on your eyes. Looks amazing.
Well, I've got my base on, which is my Invisible Radiance base. This is the foundation, which has the little...
The concealer as well on top, yeah.
Yeah, but because I'm a fella and I need to kind of cover the 5 o'clock shadow, even though I shaved early, let me see if the light's a bit better. What I put on top is I've got one of these Dermablend sticks.
Yeah, I've got one of those, yeah, I use those.
They're really good.
They are really good, actually, yeah.
I just kind of put it where I'm a little bit dark and I want to highlight and things. The lighting I've got set up here, I've got my glam core lighting. I've got a ring light as well. And lighting can be very forgiving. I think if I went out in daylight with this, it might look a little bit scary.
So that's what I wanted to talk to you about as well. I think for people at home, you know, when they do their makeup at home, depends on the lighting, then they go outside.
I've got hay fever. No, nose running, hideous. Oh, you're sorry. Back to Lan in the studio.
It's all right. I suffer from hay fever as well, but because I haven't left the house, I've avoided it. So I've stepped out in the garden a few times, but I'm always back in the house. Genderless beauty, because I think, you know, men's makeup and grooming is quite important, I think, for makeup artists, as well as taking care of their skin for guys at home and people on, you know, on camera all the time. So I just thought from your aspect, the importance of what you do you do something different? In terms of, obviously, we know for grooming, but like for me, if I'm doing a guy on the shoot or if I'm doing any guys, I treat them pretty much the same as I would a woman. You know, I look at all the best assets and, you know, it's just a form of knowing your products. And like you said, like using your particular concealer and different textures of foundations and stuff like that.
It's an interesting one because these days men can either look like they've got makeup on like this, which is you know, a little bit naturally drag queen. It's not so over the top that it's very drag queeny, but obviously it's got hints of drag queen. So there's makeup that needs to look like makeup. And it's certainly very fashionable that guys can wear makeup, concealer, do their brows, a little mascara and some bronzer. And that's an acceptable look. But then there are guys who just look really strange with makeup on. Part of the guy's look, sometimes this is ruggedness, are the dark circles under his eyes, the lines. And you don't want to eradicate that. So it's like every job as a makeup artist you go on. If you know you're doing something that's very high fashion and quite edgy and editorial, you can push the boundaries and you can put more makeup on and a bit of eyeliner. But if it's an older guy and he just needs to look nicely groomed, it's a little bit of powder, it's a tiny bit of primer just to help even out the skin tone. And then if you want something more chiseled, a little bit more contoured even.
Oh, on your lips as well?
Yeah, you're not supposed to, but I kind of, because I like playing with makeup, you know what we're like with pigments. Bright pink.
Yeah, I use those for, like, when I'm doing, like, painterly looks. I tend to just, like...
Oh, beautiful.
Paint all over the face with those colours. They're brilliant.
Yeah. And of course,
it's nice that you can layer them. It is, like, really, really soft, which is what I like. So I think sometimes with the creamy ones, I love creamy ones, but they can be a little bit sticky. Or is this just like magically blends in?
Yeah, I think you've got to be a lover of working with fingers, and you've got to, you know, I know powders are really easy, but for me, powders kind of wear off a little bit sometimes, a bit too quickly. And when you're a professional, or you live in a hot climate, or you're going on holiday, or you're a busy mum rushing around town, or you're a busy professional and you haven't got time to keep reapplying, then you need products that are easy to apply and they stay put, so you can know that when you go into that meeting or whatever you have to do, that your makeup needs very little touching up. So that's kind of why I brought out the watercolors. Now, if you wanted to contour a little bit, then thank you, Dowie, saying they love my blushes. Sorry if I'm not seeing all your messages, but I'm really concentrating on Lan's lovely questions and trying to give you as much information as possible. So I'm taking a clean water brush and I'm putting a shade on top called Hot Totty, which is really, really dark. Hot Totty, it's great if you've got black skin because it actually mimics very black skin and just gives a little bit of a sheen. It doesn't really look like a bronzing color as such on a black skin. It just looks like wonderful flesh color. And then I'm going to just buff this in, again with my water brush. So this is a shade called Hot Totty. It's a very dark brown with a little bit of sheen in it, but not too much. I mean, each to their own. Some people love working with creams, powder, you know, contour kits and things, palettes of contours. The Dominic Paul one is really fantastic for powders.
Yeah.
You put great blusher colours in your palette, Mrs. Lan. Love that as well. And let's take a little bit more of this colour. This is so trendy to do this, isn't it? But these are kind of old. I know it's trendy to do this, but these are really old Hollywood tips that we learnt at makeup college. You know, how to contour, because before there was amazing Photoshop and everything, makeup artists really had to know their craft. You had to be able to disguise a spot, or you had to be able to, you know, get rid of the bags or contour a face, make a nose look smaller. So what we're actually doing these days in all these Instagram pictures, we're actually seeing tricks and tips to a degree that are the old Hollywood techniques that the old movie stars did. Caroline Barnes did a whole video about a year ago just using Hot Totty all over her face to give herself a bronzed look. And if I get close to the camera,
it looks so like skin light. It's brilliant,
doesn't it? And that's what I love about the watercolors, that it still looks like skin. You can obviously apply powder where you want. You know, a face doesn't want to be shiny all over, or it looks like a disco ball. It's not always the look you want. And then I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this shade, which is called Icing. What I'm going to do, you know, in fact, I had a little bit on before.
I love that colour. That's my favourite.
Pretty, pretty. And then I'm going to use my fingers.
Hi, Phyllis. Phyllis has joined us.
Hey, Phyllis.
Amazing face lace.
Now that's talent. She's the one you should be talking to. Phyllis is amazing. So this gives you kind of like that beam of light. This is called Icing.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's one of my favourite colours.
It's not as glittery, shimmery, and as bright. The lights are bright, so you're seeing more of it than actually looks in daylight. Icing, Cherub, Hot Toddy. I just need a pink wig now. Let's go in with that pink one. Yeah, this is called Acid, and this is a really bright shade. Now, what I love about all the watercolors are that you can layer them, mix them together, add a little bit more if you want a little extra pop of color. There's over 50 shades to choose from, and obviously you can get samples of most of the shades, which are cute little dinky sized bottles, and that just adds...
That's really pretty.
That just adds a little bit of brightness to that, if you wanted, and things. Yeah, so it's fun. And then recently I brought out my gel blushes.
Oh, yeah. Talk me through your gel brushes.
Because I know not everybody can kind of work with liquids. They find them a little bit too fiddly, but I know most of the people on here probably know my liquids, and you lot are clever, so I know you use them. But there are some people who just can't get their head around them. So the reason I brought out the gel was that I want to kind of have as many different sorts of blushes that work really well for people. And again, I don't find that powders work really well. So the reason I brought out these gel blushes was that I wanted something that people would find a little bit easier to apply rather than liquids if they found that a little bit hard to apply. But I still wanted people to have a product that really lasted. The great thing about the liquids are that they last all day long. And I've only got 4 shades. Ruby Hammer, bless her, uses this one a lot. This is Berry. I'm going to show you on here. That shade is Berry, which is really great. Obviously, Ruby's, if you know Ruby, she's Bangladeshi. She's got wonderful dark skin.
Beautiful skin.
Then you've got Mango, this crazy orangey colour. I wish if I had no more makeup on, I would apply all these, but because I've already got a ton on. And then you've got Nectar, which is what I just put on my lips. And then finally, I've got Petal. So
they're great colours, though.
There we go. Then now you can see them. Really so you've got your coral. You've got a coral pink, a nude, a wonderful peachy orange, and then a berry. So there's kind of something for everybody. And there's no shimmer. They're ultra natural. I wanted that because the liquid ones have a lot of. There's a lot of shimmery shades in the watercolor lineup, as well as having the mattes and the semi-satins. I wanted these gels to be completely natural and almost like a stain when stains first came out.
And they just like seamlessly just disappear. You don't need a brush or...
No, fingers. I think makeup these days can be so complicated. And sometimes when you go on Instagram and you see videos and you see it's visually, it's fantastic. And I think makeup enthusiasts love all those steps. But when you have a brand, you have to know who the customer is. And a lot of my customers don't really replicate those kind of makeup looks. They are makeup junkies, but they're also housewives working for women and men who just want makeup that they can put on in 5 minutes. I was a Vidal Sassoon house model because I had loads of curly hair, and I used to be in all like the hairdresser's journal and do hair shows and all this kind of thing, which is one way how I got into makeup, because I loved seeing the transformation. At the Vidal Sassoon Academy, there was a great hairdresser called Beverly, who was one of their top hairdressers, but she used to do makeup as well. And I used to watch and I used to think, wow, that's so amazing. So from a teenager loving new romantics and all that, watching, modeling and being in shows and things really showed me the art of makeup, got me excited, Do you think that then makeup is sometimes too heavy? It doesn't need to be as heavy? Or do you think is it because people feel more confident with that amount of makeup on?
You can always tell people, wear less, because they'll go, well, it's not enough. Sometimes when we use like mineral foundation, for example, it doesn't feel like you got anything on, and some women love to feel like they got makeup on.
I know. No, you're absolutely right. Because I think as us professionals, even though we're always up against time, we know that if we put a lot on very quickly, it often doesn't last, it doesn't look as good, and you don't get the effect, and inwardly you're not happy with the job you've done. So we build up light layers, stand back a bit, add a little bit more there, and we're constantly looking at the whole face from different angles, seeing what we can put where and where it needs more. Whereas I think a lot of people these days, they will put on Estee Lauder Double Wear all over, create that mask, which is fine, but sometimes you have to kind of pack it on a bit heavier because you want to even things out, and blemishes, birthmarks and all that. If you want to disguise them, there are other products out there. But what I like with makeup technology these days is that you can get incredibly fine formulas that are actually very covering. Of course, with the double wear, there's now the double wear light. It doesn't feel really thick and very matte and feel very dry, because if you have slightly dry skin and you use a heavy formula like that, that product will just suck out whatever moisture you've got in your skin, and it just feels uncomfortable. And I think when you build up the light layers, there's the comfort factor for the person having the makeup on, that even though there's a lot on, at the end of it, they'll look in the mirror and they say, I can't feel a thing. It feels so lightweight. I've never had that before. And that for me is, that's amazing when someone says, wow, there's a lot there, but I can't see where it is.